Let me get some water.
Welcome to the voice of Terminus, everyone. Welcome to another show. Good day, everyone. I'm joined today by Lexa. Say hi, Lex.
Hello, everybody.
And in the background lurking is Shy and a noisy creature. Say hi.
Hello.
And we are joined with Candarie this week from Hills
Hello.
How.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, pleasure. And welcome to the show. So let's kick things off and just say, you know, it's been very fun. We're still having technical issues, and I'll be so happy when Jan gets back so he can sort the site out and get things up and running again, which should be in a couple of weeks' time. But yeah, let's kick things off, and I just want to ask how you've been, Candarie. Understand there's been a few health issues taking you away from the Pantheon community.
Yeah, it's true. I've been away most of the summer. But the good news is that I really am getting the treatment that I need, and I had my bariatric surgery on Tuesday,
Okay.
and I'm already home and resting, and so it'll be a couple of weeks of recovery, but you know, taking care of these things now while I don't want to accidentally violate the rules. What do I say? Taking care of these things now while things are kind of slow in the public arena is the best option.
Oh yeah, you got to take care of yourself first.
Definitely.
That's the way it is. You can't help anybody if you're in a bad way.
Right. I mean, really, it's. I was sick enough earlier this year that I couldn't even play video games.
Yeah.
How am I going to help anybody like that?
Right.
Exactly.
I'm happy to say that as of now, now it's really just it's been working my way through my health issues and then on into surgery, and it's all clear skies from here on out. So probably within the next couple of months, you'll see a little more activity from my site and from me in general.
All right, excellent. And then in terms of your website, how is that going? Has that been on the back burner as well for now?
Yeah, I mean, the website is really integrated to the community. It's difficult for us because, well, a lot of ways you guys cover all of the basic material, and we have no intention of being repetitious or stepping on your toes. And we have a niche community. It's different, and so even though I might know some things, I can't say them.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to say that I can't say things, which is edit that out.
All you gotta do is say that in a dream.
But
or a little birdie told you.
Birdie told me some things, and I think we all have a lot positive to look forward to. I think that we've seen good things come out of VR so far. So when it really does eventually come around, then we're all going to have a good experience. And I think that sites like yours are really important to bring the whole community together. And some people are going to come and be like, well, yeah, that's great for the entire community. Some of those people will also be interested in our niche, which is something that I've been doing MMOs for 20 years now. And I feel like it's really drastically undercovered.
Yeah, and I think it's important. It's not only just our site, it's many other sites that build a community and make sure that we cover all the bases and build the passion for the game. So, yeah, let's just all keep that going.
Absolutely fair. That's absolutely fair to mention. I was just limited to the people that are on the call right now.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Anyway, so tell us a bit about your gaming background. Yeah, I can't talk tonight. Okay.
Sure. So, I guess I've always been a gamer. Used to be an arcade player. an RPG player on PCs before the era of MMOs, and when EverQuest was firing up way back around the turn of the century, I ended up as a prominent tester, leading to me winning a world title, and my reputation as a healer has kind of just stuck with me. I enjoy doing it. It's unique, and of course, when your friends come calling around for the next game, they want their healer back. So I think I've played most variations of healers that have been scattered out through a lot of games. I spent 7 years in EQ, and then after that, I've played a lot of other games trying to recapture that old school feeling, and none of them have really given me that, even if they have given me other forms of entertainment along the way. So this time I get to be a cleric again. I get to be a purist specialist, but to go all hardcore into the heals type thing, and so that's really exciting, because in between those times, honestly, I went through a period where after I didn't have any alts really. I just played one character for 7 years straight. So afterwards, I started playing all these other variant healers. Like, I got to do something else. I need to twist it up. So every game I'd be something slightly different. Try the shaman. Try. Ion had a class called a chanter that was not what we think of in EverQuest. It was a healer, but played like a healer bard.
Yeah.
We played Rift and played a couple variations in that, and there's been several other games that aren't worth mentioning right now, but I feel like I finally get to. I think Vision Realms is going to give us that old school experience, and so I get to go. I get to put the suit back on, and go be Candarie the healer again one more time before I become too old to keep up with this.
I think a lot of us feel that way. Exactly.
Now, given that you've played so long on one character, I think I kind of know the answer to this next question, but I'm gonna see.
Sure.
How long does it usually take you to sit down and actually create your character when you're going to join an MMO?
It depends, honestly, because every game since then I get alphas or betas. So what usually will happen is I will know day of launch or pre-launch what my options are in game, such as if I can visit the option later, like with a barber or something, then I'm not going to spend any time at all on the character creation screen. I'm going to race from 0 seconds for the first few days. I'm going to race, and otherwise I'll only set the things that can't be changed later. And now there were some games like On had this. The character creator was intense, and your barber options, at least at launch day, were very, very limited.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys are very familiar with this game, but simplified, it was Angels versus Demons PvP. And I spent a tremendous amount of time making my character in that game, because with all of the sliders and features, I actually changed the character into a child's body. I did research of bone proportion and structure, so that my character looked like a child. And I was trying to make it cherub.
I was just thinking that.
And so, it kind of depends if and how much I can revisit later. But when it is important to me, for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, has there ever been has it ever happened where you've gotten into a game, because obviously you're a very competitive gamer, you've gotten, say, halfway or maybe even reached the end game and then realized, God, I don't like the way my character looks?
I I think that has happened sometimes, but most of the games have been really responsive, even if the barber isn't something that they consider a launch feature.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because I think that's a pretty common term for it, even if we're talking about like changing the shape of my shoulders.
Yeah.
Right. But that's not always a launch feature, but it usually is a feature that's available within the first season or two of a game.
Mm.
So, if that happens, I've even paid exorbitant amounts of money to get it, to get a recreation once that character is worth that kind of money to me.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So, there's obviously a lot of downtime before the game comes out, and we're all waiting hungry for information. What do you do to fill the gap in terms of playing anything else at the moment?
I'm actually not playing any other games right now because I have been focused entirely on my health.
Yeah.
It's been all exercise, all dieting, counseling, that kind of thing. And so right now I don't have any other serious games going, and I kind of plan on keeping it that way. When Pantheon comes out, I'm sure I'll find some other escape to have a place to go to relax in peace.
Yeah.
But to get to play something else without the stress that comes with competitive gaming. But right now, I'm just focused on me, and it's like I feel like, I mean, really, ever since Vanguard tanked,
Yeah.
we've all been waiting for this.
Oh yeah.
That's a long time ago. So waiting one more year, which I think is a fair estimate for if not launch for for seeing a lot more progress of what we are able to see and participate in.
Mm-hmm.
Is not going to make a lot of difference to me. I've already waited a decade for this. So.
Yeah, see, that's something that I'm always telling people. It's like we have been waiting. The vast majority of them have been waiting for 7-10 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
What's another year or two? Nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we have each other. When I am active on Discord, I was quite a bit before I took my hiatus, and and it's enjoyable just to sit with the kind of player that we have in our community today. I know this will change in the future when the masses come, but the people that we have that have purple and blue names in the community Discord, these people are our kind of player. There's almost no one that's sitting around for years on end waiting for a game if they're not experienced, if they're not, if they're the age range is a little bit older because that experience comes with age.
Yeah.
There's no 15-year-olds right now in our community that can't stand, that should be out growing up instead of playing MMOs. But maybe you guys are all my age, and I enjoy the company of the community we have. So.
Well, I do think that the waiting actually will weed out a lot of the chaff from the wheat, so to speak. We will have an amazing community based on just length of waiting. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Oh yeah, I can already vouch for maybe half a dozen people that I know that are younger in age who have basically given up waiting, and I've played with them in other games, and honestly, we're not missing much.
Right?
Sorry, guys. I'm gonna jump back into character creation stuff here.
Sure.
Out of all the different character creators that you've seen, is there any kind of feature that you could kind of live without? And if so, what is it and why?
I think the one if I had to cut one feature from from character creators in general. And I just was proud of this in Ion that I was actually able to make a child's body.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that an excessive amount of sliders, and especially when they can affect the size of the character and in that way indirectly affect the game itself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, that's cute and everything, but then you get where even though I had a child character, there were people in my guild criticizing me because they used minimum sliders on everything as a PvP technique to hide in rocks. So I don't think that the character creation screen should have that much of an effect on the game, and it totally did. I mean, these people in my guild, they're literally hiding in the bushes with their micro-sized characters, and leave that up to the race standards, in my opinion, and try to keep it within a range that this isn't a PvP game, so that strategy won't be as effective, and some people want to be big and some people want to be small, so I think they should be able to have those choices. But
yeah, and
I've
keep them in the range.
It taken to excess.
Yeah, exactly. So if you had to, once you've created your character, do you believe that each race should have its own spawning point, or do you feel that every new character should spawn in one position?
I mean, personally, I enjoyed the older school methods where we were starting in our own towns, and you kind of had this starting experience that would lead you to places like the Greater Fade Arc and the Deserts of Ro, where you stepped out in your front lawn, got your bearings, and then it moved into like the second or third zones. You would be meeting up with more and more races and players. Because our game is so niche, though, and this kind of leans into another topic other than just character starting points, and that is the servers. I worry, probably my number one concern about the game, because I know we're going to have multiple servers. I would say that the most frustrating thing over 20 years that has repeated itself over and over and over again is you meet someone in real life or on a forum or something and want to play together and you can't.
Yeah.
You both own the game. You both want to get together and play together. And whether you're barred because there's a $50 barrier between you playing on servers and people have their own guilds and social relationships other than you, or because they're too far away from each other on the planet and the good player physically can't get to the newer player to help them.
Yeah.
So I think that's a tightrope we're going to have to find. We're going to have to find a way to be able to bring people together, or they're not going to be able to play together and they're not going to stick with the game because this is a group game.
Yeah. I hear you. I think there's arguments for both sides, that's for sure.
Yeah. There's nothing more aggravating than having your friend starting a game, say like EverQuest, the same time as you. You started in Greater Fate Arc, they started over in Kenos, and all of a sudden you're like, how do we get together?
Exactly.
Right? I mean, expert players could force that to happen, but when you're both new, like on launch day, all of a sudden, even if you've managed to get your friend onto the right server and they're in your guild, you could still be days apart.
And also, being a game that encourages grouping, it does feel like it's a bit anti-grouping, starting you all separate. So, yeah, that's something to consider. Yeah.
One benefit, though, to having the separate starter areas is that it does give a great opportunity for the community to actually come together. Because, say, Josh and I joined a game at the same time. It's like, oh, how do I get to zone blah blah blah. Someone would tell me, some nice, kind, wonderful soul out there might be like, hey, accept my group invite, I'll take you there. And all of a sudden, you just made a friend for life.
Yeah, that's the positive spin on it, definitely.
Yeah.
And there are definitely advantages like that you mentioned. I remember for Warcraft's launch, I insisted on being an elf, and all of my other friends wanted to be humans or dwarves or gnomes, and so for me that meant that I had to figure out how to epically travel to get in with my group of friends, and on launch day that was difficult because all the information won't be out there, even if we preload from betas and all of those kind of things. It's not going to be like all these new players are going to know how to traverse the entire world safely with the limited resources you have when you're level 1.
Right.
So I'd like to see us all be able to play together. Another positive thing is that for the players that do enjoy alts, and even for those that don't, you're going to get a better experience if there's more than one starting experience.
Mm-hmm.
So
definitely agree with you there. That's for sure.
That helps keep the repetition down. I understand.
Oh, sorry, lost my place, and I had a bit of a brain fart.
No, I know exactly where I am. I understand there's a feature in this game that may be causing us to restart.
Oh, yes. The feature that shall not be named for fear of me going on a rampage.
Yep. And if that happens, we're all going to get really bored and quit if it's just the same old sequence.
Exactly.
So I think we are gonna have to see some multiple starting experiences, but perhaps we do things where we try to combine those for some of the races. So you have a journal, like I mentioned in Warcraft, the humans, the gnomes, and the dwarves could all get together relatively easily, and then the night elves are way out on the other part of the planet. And if we can create somewhat mixed experiences, you can still be horde, you can still have a couple other horde starting experiences, but still have 2 or 3 races at a time that are available to get to stay together, to play together.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Anyway.
So we know you're hardcore cleric.
Yeah, I am.
But are there any particular races that you tend to find yourself being drawn to?
Well, I'll tell you. Here's an interesting surprise. Some of my closer friends know this already. I'll send you a link of some pictures after this recording.
Okay.
I am purchasing a silicone monofin mermaid tail. I intend to cosplay the character at conventions and shows for positive support for the game.
Awesome.
I can swim with that tail.
Oh, wow. Brilliant. Excellent.
Before my injury, which is a topic I don't want to cover, but before my injury, when I was in school in Arizona, swimming is the second largest sport in high school. Football always wins, of course. Football.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But after football, swimming was a big deal, and I can, if I lose my weight, I can swim with that tail, and I've never been presented with the opportunity to do something like that before. So that's going to be that's really going to be exciting for me. And I've been in contact with some of the art team, and I've shown them what I have available in terms of the high class cosplay materials and some of the options available to the merfolk race will be based on those designs so that they can match me.
Nice.
Brilliant. So yeah, which of the starting areas are you most excited to see and why?
Well, I think I might be biased in this one, but I've also never started a game underwater.
Okay.
I love the way that in this game, with the whole shards of the other worlds converging, that, obviously I'm biased towards, I already know where I'm going with this character, but, I mean, after that, I would say I think the gnomes have a very interesting story. It's a very different kind of gnome than we've seen in most other games.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to see what these almost non-corporeal beings are doing, and if you think about that, if your beings are generally non-corporeal, then you may not that your city might not be anything at all, like a traditional city. So I think there's a lot of potential there.
Oh yeah.
It will certainly be interesting. Personally, one of my only fears in real life is actually deep water. And the funny thing is that because as a kid, I used to love to swim. In games, if I can't see more than a few feet ahead of me, I freak out even in a game. I just can't do it. So if the Dark Mirror have a city that's underwater that is similar to that fashion where you can only see so far unless you're like a Dark Mirror or something, it ain't happening. There is no way for me.
And if there's an underwater raid sometime, then it definitely ain't going to be raiding.
I'm sorry. There's no way. Either that or I'm going to be on some mega anxiety drugs. either that or
take your Xanax that day.
Yeah, that and maybe a water bottle full of vodka.
Yeah. Well, don't do that at the same time.
True. Very true. Sound advice. So when you're playing in an MMO, I'm kind of curious if you would prefer to play with like friends that you made in game, or would you tend to prioritize real life friends instead?
It actually comes down to both for me. In every game that I go, I bring my own groups. Mm-hmm. I lead a team, and I put together a group, and that group typically consists of myself plus one or two veterans even if they don't live near me, like we don't go to the mall or something like that, but that has gamed with me for many years before, that I would call them a personal friend. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of the group we fill out with new players that have never had an experience quite like our group is going to offer them. And we usually in testing phases, play with different people in your guild. You meet the people. I may even, because of my website, I may even have someone in my team that is not a member of my guild, which would be a first, because most people are pretty averse to that. But TDC is welcoming enough for that, because of who I am and the nature of our community. I really want to be shown from the top down that this isn't some side project of my guild. This is my project. This is a healing project, and and of course I happen to be in a guild. How could we get anywhere without one, right?
Exactly.
But this isn't just my guild telling everybody else what to do, and I think it's important to show that from the top down. And I've even seen on my Discord that there are other people that that have listened to me speak with some of our group members and not our group members, and they're like, this pre-made group thing is actually pretty legit. There's a whole lot of time waste you can cut out with that. You you can start to learn each other's strengths and weaknesses, develop your own strategies, and and that leads to a lot of in-game advantages, which in turn leads to me being top of the leaderboards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's basically in-game as well. A lot more in-game than real life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'll always have at least one other person with me that is someone veteran because you got to have that. It can't just be me.
It kind of sounds like the way I used to operate, but not in my bad years. When I was over the bad BS of my past, it was basically I would bring anybody as long as they were willing to pull their weight. That's kind of what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And what ends up happening is that actually in this game it's actually going to be a double team that I'm ending up leading because we've had such positive response to it that that I'll be coordinating the efforts of about 15 people working together to make sure that we have whatever we need. We're always self-sufficient, got a crafting machine going that runs the whole set of everything that can be crafted and everything that can be farmed or dug up. We're going to have the people that can do it. That gets us money. That gets us team and guild advancement, and that's part of it.
Basically keeps the cogs in the machine rolling.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, when you first heard about the game,
any of my players cogs
to their face, at
cogs
least.
with a G. Mistaken with anything else.
So, when you first started hearing about the game, and you started reading up about it, what was the first wow moment that you went, "Oh man, this is the game for me"?
Well, Brad's name still carries a lot of weight, but that really wasn't the wow factor there. It was that it really seemed like Brad himself had matured, and I had met him a long time ago. I was a top tester and had seen him many times, although he wasn't exactly my personal friend. He knows exactly who I am, and he grew up and learned a lot from the Vanguard explosion, and now I think we can actually have that game that we wanted many years ago, and more because technology has advanced too. And I don't think that the company is named VR by accident.
No,
I think we'll get our full immersion experience again, and so I even though I haven't announced any features like that, I don't think that's an accident. I think we'll get it even if it's not there on launch day.
Right.
And that is really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
The camera's not important.
Oh, okay. See it down there.
So
My way.
Now I gotta ask,
Sure.
what do you actually enjoy more when you're playing an MMO? Do you enjoy raiding, exploring, grouping, crafting, questing? Is there anything particular that really drives you?
Personally, I am a hardcore raider. I love, and I'm usually given the opportunity to do this, and now I'm doing it on a much bigger scale. But I will lead the healers in a separate strategy set from the rest of the team. I instruct the rest of the guild what healers want them to do.
Yeah.
And we work out with the healers what we need to be doing. And we're not listening to commands from the tanks. We're not listening to anything the DPS has to say. We're here. We've got a job. We can see our health bars. We can see when a monster turns, and NPCs have this. NPCs don't turn in a realistic fashion. They point directly at the person they're going to attack. You can watch the field, and before the health bar even moves, you can know what's happening. But you can't do that if you have a lot of mental stress that doesn't need to be on your mind. You need to be able to just let all of that go. Tanks will handle it. The damage will handle it. Crowd control will handle it. We're not paying any attention to any of that. And so we can focus on what we need to do.
Oh, very interesting. So, if virtual reality was something that...
I'll go over here, but I'm not getting any audio.
Can you hear me?
Do you hear me?
Can you hear us, Candarie? Hello?
Technical difficulties. Please stand by.
I can hear you then.
You can't hear? All right. So can you hear us now? Let's have a look.
Yeah, still good. I think somebody activated a streamer service or something elsewhere in my house, and we just got lagged for a second.
Just a minor hiccup.
Glitch there in the Matrix. Okay.
All right, so let's back up. What was the question you were asking before that?
The question I was asking, if virtual reality was something that was more mainstream, and we have heard rumblings of Brad saying that he'd love to see this in the future for Pantheon, what would be the biggest thing you'd look forward to around virtual reality within Pantheon?
I would say I've seen some games try to implement this, but I haven't seen one do it very well yet, and that is 3D positional audio. I want as a healer, I want someone to be able to cry out something like "Help over here," things like that, and I want to know where over here is.
See, the funny thing when mentioning that, I can just see myself trying to make people laugh during a raid and running around people going, "Oh God, save me!"
I think that would be great.
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. If you did that on my team, I would tell the rest of the healers to stop healing you.
That's fine. I got no problem with that. Whenever I do something silly to make people laugh, I expect to be left to my own devices. Always.
Exactly.
Now, of course, if we're in a less serious scenario and we're just chilling in a group camp or something, that I'm not going to act like that. That's competitive play.
The worst thing I've ever done on an actual raid was I jumped off a cliff because the raid leader went AFK, and he didn't go for number 1, so we had time. And I just jumped off a cliff for fun. Anyway, we'll move along here. Are there any gamer cliches that kind of annoy you? And do you think there's anything that can be done to kind of circumvent them with Pantheon?
Well, I'll stay within my niche on this one. I see this. Been seeing this meme image for years. The same one about healers. And it's this black and white sketch where it has the angry healer at the bottom that just hates everyone that they group with, and it's like, screw you, you're gonna die, and and I think that comes from a frustration among healers where they're already frustrated from the beginning because they don't have the guides that are available. The material that's given to them is often not applicable. So when you're not on a team like mine and you're a healer, then you're getting instructions from 3 or 4 different directions. None of them may be accurate. And you're like, I need to do some stuff, and I need you guys to calm down so we can do this. And I think that starts a lot sooner than the beginning of the raid, and it creates that negative, angry healer that I think we've all met at least one of these people.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Certain, I think that situation starts long before the raid, and it can be resolved by taking that away. If your healer can believe in the rest of their team and isn't getting a bunch of conflicting, useless instructions, then their personal aggravation is going to go down, and in turn their play is going to go up.
Yeah.
Right.
So true. So what don't you want to see in Pantheon if that's the case? I mean, you've obviously played a lot of MMOs and been at the top of your game at a lot of MMOs. What don't you want to see being brought from those MMOs into Pantheon?
Now that's an interesting question. What don't I want to see? I think that I don't want to see. There's certainly low-hanging fruit. I could pick on like pay-to-win shops and say we definitely don't want that, but that's low-hanging fruit that we're pretty sure is not really happening in this game to begin with. So, I would say I don't want to see a situation where there's only one class or two classes. In EverQuest, this was most definitely cleric and enchanter for many years, where there was no ability to duplicate what they had to offer. Warriors too, to some extent. For many years, the other tank classes weren't up to snuff, and so you had a lot of people playing these classes and then not get to do their jobs. Or you'd have situations where if Candarie can't play, there's no ability for the shamans and the druids to fill in my spot.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see a situation where critical roles are limited to just one or two options, which, within a guild, it's usually built around raid size, but even then, you don't ever take any more of a skill class than you have to. And that creates too many situations then where one or two people can send 50 people home without getting to play.
Right. I've always been a firm believer that anyone within the same realm of expertise should be able to kind of take over the same role, like, for example, main healer, but they need to be able to do it in their own way.
Yeah.
That is absolutely true. I definitely want to see my shaman and druid friends being able to have a different game experience. I just don't want. I want them to be different and yet still, ultimately equal and useful in a raid situation and in a competitive dungeon situations where I don't want to send the. If I'm out, I don't want my group to have to quit because I went out on Friday or because I got sick. Right. I don't want, and I don't want that to happen on a larger scale in our raids. Oh, we're missing two clerics tonight, guys. We can't make the chain. That's it. Everybody go do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And those are
nothing
bad.
Worse. There's really nothing worse than that feeling, because as a tank, I've been there too, where you have a static group. They always get together, say Friday nights, and all of a sudden something comes up. You really want to go see the new movie or something, and your buddies are like, "Well, thanks. Now I can't do anything."
Right. And that goes back to that's pressure that you can take off of players of many of those classes long before the raid starts, and that will allow them to be better players. Makes them, if you feel comfortable that every time you show up, you're going to get a raid with your friends, you're going to get a group, or you're going to get a dungeon with your friends, and it's going to happen, and without 2 hours of prep and spamming the chat, trying to bribe a tank or somebody's lockout from another guild to fill your gaps rather than lose your entire night.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that when players have that, even if we've had to force it to happen by making our group static, those players, they log in and every night's easy street for them. They're casual, they're relaxed, and you just take as much stress off of the player. I think we play these games to escape stress in our real life. So I'm generally opposed to any feature that or incidental non-feature that that we came here for fun, not to stress ourselves out and get frustrated and mad as we. Like I said, I've had this happen too many times, and then I think we all have, where you miss a couple of key players, and it takes 2 hours to get it together, or you spend those 2 hours trying to get it together. It doesn't happen, and you go home empty.
Yeah,
right. It's not a good situation for anybody.
No.
I'm kind of curious. I consider myself to be a little less evolved, and I don't mean this as an insult at all, because I have a very difficult time playing a female character as a male. What kind of gender do you usually play when you're in an MMO? I mean, have you played a male character before?
I do have a few characters, although they usually are my alts, where I'll play a male character. When I started EverQuest, I had not come out to the public as a trans person, and so that also gave me. There was no video chat, no Discord at those eras, so that was actually helpful to me in that regard, and I can understand that completely, because I don't tend to. I would never have a character as my main.
Right.
I have a couple of them scattered throughout my different games, but they're always alts, and I think that for me, I have to identify with this character. In this case, I'm going all the way to buying a tail. So, I have to feel this character, and that's not going to happen, because for me, like a race like are they Scar in this game?
Oh yeah,
the really big guys, the Scar.
Oh yes.
The ugly
it
guys.
doesn't matter. Scar, if the Scar somehow made objectively the best healers for some technical reason, I would still not do it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So
brilliant.
See, for me, I've tried to play female characters as a male, and I can't do it. I can't identify with my character at all, and all of a sudden I get to level 5, maybe 6 if I'm lucky, and then I start a new character.
Yeah, if you're disconnected, you're not. These games we talk about, especially the ones that we've loved the most, we have invested, I would guess, at least 5 years a piece in a single character or a single game that was one of our favorites of all time, whatever one that might be for you. And you're not going to do that for a character you can't connect with.
Exactly.
Well, if you could copy a character creation section out of another game, which one would you bring into this one that you'd be very comfortable with?
I saw this question on the when you guys gave me the pre-script, and I was I was looking forward to this one because I know I'm going to have a surprise answer. Now, and that is City of Heroes.
Really?
Now, obviously, we're in a different environment, so the whole superhero thing is not applicable. But the design level that was available to you in City of Heroes, and that you could revisit it at the tailor at any time to spend your off hours polishing multiple outfits, really detailed stuff. I think they really had it was a real character creator. You never saw another player in City of Heroes that looked like you, even if you had the same powers.
Oh yeah.
And
oh god, I think I lost a large chunk of my teen No, definitely not my teen years. I lost a very good portion of a week because of that stupid character creator.
And I think that character creator was launched way ahead of the actual game launch itself, right? So you could mess around and create characters before the time, if I remember correctly.
On that one, I don't actually know. I didn't play City as a beta game, but one of my friends introduced me to me while I was still doing competitive EQ, and for a while I found that was my non-competitive get away from my deliberately get away from my hardcore friends, go do something goofy. But when you're asking about the character creator, that's probably the best character creator I've ever seen. Yeah, my wife just mentioned from across the room that it even allowed us eventually, although this wasn't a launch feature, to recolor your spell effects power, like the colors of your spells.
Yeah.
And that really make you connected to your character. One of my favorite costumes that I've ever designed. Surprisingly, it took more colors to do this than any other character I've ever made. And I had a kind of a dark wizard, villain, evil overlord theme, dark witch type thing. And I made a newspaper quality black and white version. And I actually took 13 different shades of black and white to do that. But the character looked like she had just walked off the page of an old comic book. And the powers were recolored accordingly too. So, and that always stood out to me as being extremely unique. Where I think I was the only person I ever met with a black and white version of the character.
I remember when the City of Villains came out, because I generally gravitate towards evil characters. And when I finally realized that, oh, look, I can do all the abilities and I can make different uniforms or costumes, I kind of dropped my head on the keyboard and I was like, my life is over.
Right? Like you said, you could get lost for weeks in there.
Yeah, it was
sad thing
wonderful.
is, like, for me, I don't spend that much time making characters. I really don't.
Yeah.
Except in that particular
game.
IP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great choice. That's a wonderful choice there.
Right. So I got to ask, what is your feeling towards third-party applications, like, say, smartphone apps that link to your Pantheon account that would let you to theoretically improve your gameplay? Like, maybe it could allow you to craft when you're offline, chat with your guild or your friends, do things like that.
I think that there is room for some of these kind of apps. I think there may be no avoiding it on some level, even if we try to lock down things. I think that not every player will be as honest as the kind of pre-release people that we have here. So you're going to be in competition with some of that software no matter what we do. So then you got to say, okay, what is acceptable? Because, you're kind of right. I mean, why should I be wasting valuable time in front of the PC when my friends are there going, let's group? Why should I be standing there cranking out crafting? Crafting's probably a good, fair option. If the items are in my inventory already, then I should be able to look at that. In-game mail, messages from my friends in-game. I want to be on my smartphone and get a push notification from my friend who's in-game and says, hey, we need you. Come on now.
Right.
And I want that kind of communication. On the other hand, I can make an example where maps are a very controversial issue in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be very easy to imagine an app, probably one that VR would have to make, or you could imagine an app where we could put the map into the app so that you could use your tablet or your smartphone as a second screen to see the map constantly, but without it interfering in your field of vision of the 3D game. You know, and in my opinion, while I'm not the biggest map hater in the world, you know, there's certainly in the realm of possibility to go too far where you're not just doing a little quality of life stuff like the mail. You know, you're enlisting extra technology to assist you, and that is more than a mouse or a keyboard or a gamepad or something.
Oh yeah. So with that
I'd
being
rather
said,
see players playing and not the other machine.
right? What do you think about, like, say, websites back from the old AQ days where you could actually upload, your combat log and get a full parse of everything, so, and stuff that help you, like spec builds, things like that. Are you kind of in the same boat with those?
Personally tend to get away with a lot more BS than most of the players when it comes to like something like I know you're directly referencing like World of Logs. That, and because of who I am, I tend to get away personally.
Oh, we lost audio, I think, at least on my end. You got anything, Josh?
Nothing at this point. Maybe it's just another glitch.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
nope,
now we got
you're
you.
back.
We got you back.
You're back.
All right. I'll restart that answer.
All right.
Sorry, just ask me the question again.
Well, I think Alexa was talking about third-party
World of Logs.
Yeah.
Right. These logs, they don't reflect. There is a whole lot of material that will eventually find its way onto my site that affects the game and affects you and your team and your raid and doesn't show up in a log. We did the math once. After I finished testing, I joined a guild, Triality, at EverQuest. They were ranked 4th in the world at the time. Some of the stuff that I taught them, because all the testers were chronically undergeared, and I taught them how to do some things, and then we mathematically mapped out the effects of what I had done. EverQuest had an audio triggers feature. I used to have an expansive set of software that I wrote called CATS, audio trigger system. That was, it probably was too exorbitant, honestly, but once it's in the game, it's in the game. So I made it so every player in my guild heard Homer Simpson at 300% volume yell "Do!" if they took even a single point of damage. Every time they got hit, "Do! Do! Do!"
I feel bad for the tank.
Well, I taught the tanks how to turn it off, but everybody else, and I'm not kidding, just Homer Simpson's, and I deliberately amped the volume so that it would blast people in their ears for standing in fire or getting hit with stuff. Just that dropped our raid's incoming damage by 40%.
Brilliant.
So in a logbook, it's not going to say that I personally healed 40% of the incoming damage.
Right.
And that leads a lot of people who don't get away with the stuff I personally get away with to, be unable to beat these log barriers of people that they just want numbers and not looking for friends. So while I think that it's important for us to be able to log and to study certain things so we learn what we're doing, you know, I have been in situations where I have had to game the system by deliberately putting on the wrong gear, or deliberately in Rift. This occurred to me where I was definitely a better healer as a warden, a healing over time variant, than I was as a purifier, a high impact variant.
Mm-hmm.
But bots don't generate the big numbers. The purifier did. And so when I was around people that weren't accustomed to me and that trust me or anything like that,
Yeah.
they weren't going to let me. Almost warden spells were instant cast, so I had super high mobility, and I could be more personally active than the purifier version, where I'm glued to the floor 3 and 4 seconds at a time to do things, and I was definitely better as a warden. But in seasons 1 and 2 in Rift, wardens were the outcast healer. Nobody ever wanted them because it wasn't big and flashy. You didn't see a tank's health bar jump from 0 to 100 because the warden just kept it above 80 the entire time.
That's brilliant. So, fast forward 3 years. What do you imagine Pantheon to evolve into?
Well, I hope it's the sequel that EverQuest desperately deserved. You know, there was EQ2, which didn't quite make it. Vanguard didn't make it. Landmark didn't make it. You know, and I think we've all been saying, you know, we had the great basis from the game. Now let's learn from our mistakes. Let's upgrade the technology, and let's do it all again, because it was a great time the first time. And so I think that if they're successful, and obviously I put down a lot of money because I believe that, but you know, I think that's what we want to see. We want to see a game where we get characters we identify with, we get customization options, we get play game style options. You named like 6 different ways of playing games, and some of them, like, I delegate all the harvesting. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a cleric. I barely have the ability to defend myself, and I don't have time to do it. So I'll pick something else from my crafts and do what I can do. And somebody with a character that's more adapt to do so, you know, I'll say to them, someone is on my team, I'll be like, okay, listen, guys, we are eating 50 health potions per raid. We're eating 100 mana potions per raid. That means this week I need to see this many herbs from the rest of you in the bank. Mm-hmm. That many herbs had better be there when I show up to make potions. And you know, so and those players are also the kind of players that they want solo time, and I don't want any of it. You know, so, and they enjoy it, and they get to contribute in their way, and I'll contribute in mine.
Cool. So I know this is a bit of a silly question.
Oh, I like that. I thought we'd been being too serious.
Would you attend a Pantheon type event, and how far would you be willing to travel there, and what would it take to get you to go?
Well, I mentioned a little bit earlier that, like, maybe that's why I said the question is a little silly. I'm definitely willing to go. I have limited mobility, so for me getting to an event that's outside of New England, probably not. It's not reasonably achievable. it would be a big time thing for me to suddenly go to California or something, you know.
Yeah.
But so how far I'm willing to go is more representative in the fact that I kind of used this as a little bit of self motivation. You know, I had been sick, I had been injured, and I got my injury finally was able to be treated. I needed something to push myself for as a goal that I can say, why am I going through all of this pain? Why am I going to force myself to recover? Because when you're very depressed, even the idea of recovery can be scary because you're like, well, I've kind of adjusted to my life now. Maybe I'm in a wheelchair and can't leave from in front of the computer all day, but I've been doing that for 10 years, 15 years, and I've accustomed to that. So for me, the how far I'm willing to go is that I gave myself this goal. I said, I'm not just going to play the game this time. I'm not going to try to be a guild leader this time. I'm going to deliberately pick the most unique character I've ever imagined and try to bring that character to life. And when we have an event in New York, or if I can, I hope that I'm not going to charge too much when it comes to the content on my site. All of the main, it'll be ad free or a small subscription for ad every content available for free with ads or a subscription for a no ad thing. But I don't think I'm going to make a ton of money doing that.
Yeah.
Right. Well, as the VoT's webmaster, I can safely say that 9 times out of 10, all you want to do is break even. Because doing the server and taking a couple hours, every other day to check up on things, it eats up into stuff.
It does, and that's all I'm looking for from my supporters is, help this not be such a total burden on me, both in my efforts and financially. And I'm not going to ask my supporters to send me to Europe or even to California. I live in Connecticut. But if there was an event in Boston, Philly, New York City, something like that, those places are only a few hours away from me. That's way more achievable.
Nice. So, do you want to just tell us all about your guild, how it came about, maybe, and what you're hoping to achieve with it, or your site? Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say this time I'm not leading the guild, so I picked a group. I had a couple of good offers in terms of guild early on, and I picked the group of people that I got along with the most, rather than picking a younger version of me who say, I can tolerate any number of assholes as long as we win. And I don't think I have the tolerance for that anymore. So I picked the group of people that I like. But then you asked me about my site, and I think that's really what you meant to ask the first time.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's all right. The Heals.how is a healer-focused community. We're guild neutral, and that means that all the guild politics, everybody has to leave that at the door, or I'm not gonna welcome you. We're gonna tackle all of the same type of game content that you're used to seeing on many other sites, but it's all going to be from the healer's camera, from healers, expert healers from multiple guilds, commenting and recording their play, saying, what are we doing as healers? We've all seen so many strat videos and read so many guides on how to do this, and then you're a healer and you're like, yeah, and okay, I can stay out of the fire. I'm definitely not over aggroing. So what do I need to be looking out for? And our content will be the content that says this dot is going to go off every so many seconds. That means you this number of cures ready to go in sequence, and how to communicate that to each player.
I don't think a lot of people really, especially people who make up some of these guides, they don't really have an appreciation for when you say something like an AE stun happens, what that actually means. I mean, obviously they know what it means to their particular class or their role, but say for a healer, it could mean something completely different than it would for a tank or a DPS or even a melee DPS.
Yeah.
In that example, and that's a great example to pick, because an AoE stun that's going to happen means that I need an AoE heal over time.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to know when it's going to happen because I have to land that heal over time before I myself get stunned.
Right. I mean, it's the same with the tank. If you have any threat over time or you have a defensive ability, you need to hit that beforehand.
Right. And but like you said, it's not usually covered from the healer's version. They say things like pop your defensive cooldowns. And you're
right.
Like, yeah, thanks, but everyone's still mad at me when their health bar drops to 0, even if I'm stunned just like they are.
Yeah.
So
interesting. Is there anything else you want to say about the site or not?
We're primarily a Discord community.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a Twitch show with fairly regular updates. For obvious reasons, we're not doing that right now.
Yeah.
But that's definitely going to be a big thing, and I want to try to find the right people of different skill levels, of different because another thing worth mentioning about this content is that not all healers are world-class raid competitors. They may be doing completely different content under completely different limitations, and I would love to meet a player like that isn't somebody that either already is or can learn to be a decent healer, but can also give a perspective for, well, what do you do with these dungeons if you're not ludicrously overgeared from your raids?
Right. It's something that from a tanker's point of view, we saw it early on in EQ where tanks would constantly get together and try to figure out better ways to do things. And then suddenly something happened where it all turned and no one wanted to share their secrets or how they do things for fear that someone would get to be better than them. And I'm really hoping with Pantheon, we actually see reverse of this trend and go back to trying to bring everybody up on the same kind of plateau rather than someone feeling the need to stand on a pedestal.
Yeah. In EverQuest, I mentioned the audio trigger thing, and which is a feature I would love to have in Pantheon, although I will confess that I probably did abuse it a lot more than it was intended when it was created. But when I was in Triality, I had to compromise with my guild, where now we're 4th place in the world, so this isn't much of a compromise, really. There's not many people ahead of us, but until we completed our content for an expansion or a season, until our placement had been sub, then I couldn't release the current edition.
Yeah.
Now, since most people are behind you when you're 4th ranked, those players are not particularly angry. They understand. They'll get their update as soon as I can get it to them. Mm-hmm. But the guild itself, they were hyper concerned because it was a very effective tool, and they didn't want me writing that and handing away the wins to 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
Yeah.
So
anyway, for the most silliest question of the evening.
All right.
Who is the VoT host with the most?
Oh, you know. Oh, you got to put me in that spot. I love all of you guys.
It's a rite of passage.
All right, then I'm gonna pick Frogzor's birds.
Oh, brilliant! It's their first vote. It's their first vote.
I want to
Yeah,
know who started writing shy on the ballot.
Hey, you guys keep leaving me off of it.
It's like the write-in
So,
candidate that's
woo-hoo.
going to win presidency.
You know, and I didn't
Hey,
even get
don't
to
even
hear
go-
from you very much today, but but
But my birdies
Well,
say
you're-
thank you.
they were quite entertaining earlier, and because I'm copping out a little bit. I'm not gonna pick between friends, guys. Come on,
Yeah.
the birds win.
No,
Yay!
perfect. That's a great answer.
Trevor and Cricket say thank you.
See, I'm really hoping this whole picking the birds and stuff doesn't become a trend. Otherwise, I'm going to start getting a little uppity.
Or
Well-
you could get a cat.
I could go from
have
fourth
two
to
cats.
fifth, so yeah,
Well,
is
yeah.
that.
You know, bring the cats on the show, and the cats might be able to compete with the birds.
Not so fun fact. My wife's cat has the same name as Shy's bird,
Is true?
Cricket.
Small world. Cricket.
Sure is.
Anyway,
This
but
here, I'm trying. That is my little cookie.
Aw.
cute.
Yeah, she's my dachshund, and
Oh, doxies are
Oh.
adorable.
she's still sitting in this position, even though I'm on a full size couch right now. But all these years of gaming, she would sit in my big chair with me, right along my left side, and I play in a very unique way. I don't use a traditional keyboard at all when I play.
Hmm.
I have a gamepad in my left hand and the mouse in my right, and I use their abilities and the in-game abilities so that all of my spells know which hand I cast them with, because it makes them behave differently.
Mhm.
The right-handed spells are interrupting, and the
Mhm.
left-handed spells are queuing. And
Nice.
so if
It's
I
always
want,
interesting to hear how people set up their controls, because I have a very unique one as well.
yeah, tell us
I
about.
I won't get into it because this isn't about me, but it's just I actually feel a little better now that someone else goes with a very unique setup.
In all of those years, right underneath my left arm while I'm playing away, my cookie, she just aligns herself so that she wants my whole left arm to lay down the length of her body, and she just wants to snuggle right up next to me. It's her favorite spot, and she's probably, like I said, she's probably more important than the keyboard. She keeps me happy, and a happy me means living players.
Yep.
Good. Brilliant. Well, just one thing I'd like to say is a big thank you to somebody that's been donating a lot of gifts for us while we're doing it. Soterian, thank you very much for your kind donations. It was great.
You're world class, my friend.
World
Thank you.
class
Thank you
indeed. Yep.
Thank you, Centurion.
And Candarie, thank you so much for coming on board. It's been really great hearing you speak about the healing side of things and your experiences in the past and what you're looking forward to going forward. And
Really honored to be here tonight.
Yeah.
I look forward to our next round sometime. I'm sure this won't be my last visit.
No.
Nope.
So I look forward to seeing you all again next time.
Excellent. Thank you.
Best of luck on your road towards a more full recovery. I hope it goes smoothly for you, because I have been exactly where you are, and it is not fun.
No, I think I'm finally at a point where I'm really confident that it is going to be a real thing. You know, I don't want to talk too much about the negativities,
Yeah,
but
you got to focus on the
they've
future,
been
and you
dealt
got to
with,
go
and
for
now
it.
I can believe in it.
Exactly.
I'm
So
really honored to be here tonight. Thank you so much for having me.
We're very happy you were able to make it.
yeah, thank you, and thank you, Lex, and thank you everybody for listening to us waffle. I hope you had as much fun as we
A
did.
little reminder, though, we are going to go on a 2-week break.
Yeah, we are on a 2-week break now, guys. And after that, we will be
Full force.
back in full force with Yanilla having to deal with this headache of hosting again. I'm very happy about that.
All right.
The 2-week break is actually so Josh can kind of bring his blood pressure back down.
Definitely. All right, excellent. Well, everybody, thank you very much, and we shall see you in about 3 weeks' time. Take care.
All right, everyone, have a good.
Be safe, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Take care.
What are the subs for, though? That's what I don't understand. Oh, wow. Oh, wow.